Oh my gosh. You know what's funny? I've done hundreds of expired listing phone calls. I've never asked that question the way you just asked it.
Wow. Well, let me be the first to tell you, you definitely deserve better service than that.
Crushed it in high school, just picking up girls. Wait, hold on. You mean to tell me your boyfriend didn't call you and tell you this, that, and the other? He didn't say this. He didn't do that. Oh my gosh. Wow.
How many people besides me have ever been in the presence of somebody that you knew that they wanted something from you? They didn't come out and tell you, but they could feel it.
Oh, bro, it's just seeping out of their pores. I can smell it like cheap cologne.
And this way, whatever you decide to do, Brandy, whether you decide to stay put or you decide to move, you'll have
nobody's named Brandy in Fort Lauderdale. They're all Jim and like Beth.
No, I know there's a Brandy here.
About?
That's why. You get rewarded in public for what you spend countless hours doing in private. If you're serious about this, how many people do you role play with that you're actually intimidated to practice with them? If you learn how to sell, you will be disproportionately rewarded for your efforts.
Aaron wrote that song almost like Adele, right? That script was not something that somebody printed out to him and said, here, memorize this. That's personal development. That's delegation. That's understanding the most valuable activity that you should be doing. 91% of people on the planet will never understand it. 91% of people will always be overwhelmed and never pick up their phone. There's no way this dude is charging me $500 an hour to meet me at a Starbucks location.
We think that we are thinking beings that feel when we are actually feeling beings that think. And keep in mind, these people are being bombarded with, let's say, agents, and now let's say some investors that are reaching out that are looking for something. And if you can connect with people emotionally, I promise you they will stay on the phone longer. 100%. Right? So if they're feeling desperate, they're feeling frustrated, they're feeling scared, the opposite of that is hope and certainty. Hope and certainty. So, hey, do you think I can actually get this done, Pace? Absolutely. It is really not a question to me of whether or not you could or couldn't, right? It's really just a question of me figuring out specifically what you're looking to accomplish and then coming up with a game plan to help you to get what you want in the time you want. I guess I'm curious. Notice that is hope and certainty. Immediately, right out of the gate, right? Somebody is aggressive with you right out of the gate. The way that I like to describe this is imagine if you've ever seen bull riding, okay? So when you're bull riding or you're watching bull riding, for the first 10 seconds, what does the bull do? Buck.
Yeah.
Almost uncontrollably. But then what happens after 10 or 15 seconds?
They calm down.
He stops, right? And initially, when you are making this phone call, initially, they're going to book. How'd you get my phone number? Who are you? Why are you calling me? Like that sort of thing. So my goal and objective is to have them to talk to me. I want you to erase in your mind initially, my goal and objective is to get a deal. No, my goal and objective is to discover if they have a need that I can service. Okay. And how am I going to find that out? If they speak to me. That's the only way I'm going to find it out. So if Pace is really aggressive with me and he's like, oh man, how'd you get my phone number? It's like, listen, what I'm aware of is I can tell by the tone in your voice that it wasn't your expectation this morning that you were going to get bombarded with phone calls. I will be sure to take it off my list. Initially, what are they thinking right away? Okay, we're done here. While I have you on the phone, Pace, I guess I'm curious. Your home's lovely. It's in a great geographic area. Great schools. I don't need to tell you that. If you don't mind me asking, when you had originally put it on the market, was there any particular reason you were even considering selling it? Notice my tonality. That's ridiculous. Why would you ever do that? Which is going to cause them to do what? Speak to me. Pace is going to be like, well, we wanted to do this, this, and that. Okay. And listen, first, I appreciate your willingness to share that with me. The more you're willing to share, the better equipped I am to provide you with information that could be helpful or useful in some way. So I'm wondering, is that still something that's important to you, or have things changed forever? When I say have things changed forever, what am I doing? I'm slamming the door shut on that opportunity.
That's so good. Such a great line.
Either a definite yes or a definite no. They're either going to say, well, no, like not like forever. Okay, so it sounds like it's something that's still important to you. It's just that you're not specifically clear as to how come it didn't sell or what you need to change to ensure that it does. I guess I'm wondering, how did you happen to pick the agent that you hired to help?
Oh my gosh. You know what's funny? I've done hundreds of expired listing phone calls. I've never asked that question the way you just asked it.
And what happens, Pace, when you do that? Check this out. What am I insinuating is the reason it didn't sell? The agent. Did I come out and say that directly?
No.
No. My tonality infers it. So if you don't mind me asking, I mean, gosh, your home's lovely. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Did the previous agent give you any clear, specific reasons as to how come it didn't sell? And they'll be like, well, they blame the market, or they said interest rates are too high. Really? How interesting. I oftentimes notice, Pace, that when homes aren't selling like that, oftentimes what agents will do is they'll blame the market, they'll blame interest rates, things of that nature. I'm wondering, though, you strike me to be someone who has a lot of common sense. You seem to understand this process pretty well. What do you feel like they should have been doing? So you could do something simple, which is just get it sold and make the move to Kansas. Be quiet. Now, what are they going to complain about?
The agent and all the problems.
And all the reasons why they sucked and all the reasons why. And you're like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Let me be, wait, so let's say they start to tell me, they're like, well, they didn't call me, they didn't give me updates. I will interrupt them. Robin, wait a minute, time out. You mean to tell me they weren't calling you every week with a specific update, letting you know how come it's not selling and what you need to change to ensure that it does? No. Wow. Well, let me be the first to tell you, you definitely deserve better service than that.
You know what's interesting? I had a buddy that crushed it in high school, just picking up girls, and his lines sounded very similar to this.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You mean to tell me your boyfriend didn't call you and tell you this, that, and the other? He didn't say this. He didn't do that. Oh my gosh. Wow. Guys, yes. Half of you guys have been doing this your whole life. In fact, you probably landed your wife this way.
That's right.
God, bro, this is money. Keep going. I don't want to interrupt. I'm just in the peanut gallery, just enjoying this.
Yeah, it's literally money. It's literally a license to print money if you can learn how to do it effectively and efficiently. So, yeah, and then let's say they're like, well, I felt like they should have done this, this, and this. Yeah, I agree with you, right? And what do you feel like they should have been doing? They're like, well, I feel like they should have been more aggressive and more proactive. Yeah, 100%. So let me ask it this way, because my job is to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Time out. Most people are so overly attached to an outcome that they have commission breath or assignment breath, or, you know what I'm saying? It leaks out in your tonality, in your choice of words, in the rate of speech, like all of that, and it becomes repulsive. How many people besides me have ever been in the presence of somebody that you knew that they wanted something from you? They didn't come out and tell you, but they could feel it.
Oh, bro, it's just seeping out of their pores. I can smell it like cheap cologne.
All right. And what's so fascinating, I want everybody on this call to recognize something, okay? We all speak another language. We just don't talk about it. Communication is only 8% of the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's 50% like body language, 18% tone, right? It's a small fraction. So when people come to me, they're like, hey, I want to learn what to say and how to say it. I'm like, I can teach you that, but there's this other language that we have to learn. And when I say to you, like, listen, my job's to help you, Pace. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Immediately, what am I demonstrating? I am completely unattached to this outcome. Whatever you decide to do is fine. Right? Versus what other people are doing, like, oh, please, 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 let's meet. Let's meet. Let's meet. Let's do a deal. Let's meet. Right? So you'll totally stand out by doing that. And so my job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Let me ask it this way. If you had an offer that was very reasonable, very acceptable to you, in the next maybe 30, 60, 90 days that would allow you to still make this move to Texas happen, do you think you would still sell the home? Be quiet. You'd be like, well, yeah, I probably would. Great. Well, just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. That's neuro-linguistic programming. Just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. May I make a suggestion? Be quiet. When I ask, may I make a suggestion, what am I asking permission to do? Who can tell me? I'm asking permission to close. You be quiet, and it might take 20, 30 seconds, and it seems like a lifetime. You're just quiet, sitting there. And then you know what they'll say to you? I'm listening. Or they'll be like, go ahead, Pace. Or they'll be like, you can make a suggestion, but I don't know if I'll do it. Right? You just have to shut up long enough for them to say it. Now they're giving you permission to proceed. Right? They say, well, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, make a suggestion. Well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things very clearly. The first one is you still want to make the move to Texas happen. The second thing I'm hearing from you is really through no fault of your own, because you weren't getting great service. You are not specifically clear as to why it didn't sell and what changes we could make in terms of approach, perhaps creative financing that would allow you to accomplish your goals and objectives. So what I'd like to do is this, and I really wouldn't mind because I'm in your area all the time anyway. I'd love to have the opportunity just to pop by. Notice, how long does pop by sound like?
2 seconds.
2 seconds, bro. Just pop by, take a quick peek. Notice, quick peek. See what it has to offer in person. And what I can do is I can show you a couple things very clearly. Number one, how come it didn't sell? Number two, what we need to change in terms of a more proactive and aggressive approach, including creative financing, that can help you to accomplish your goals and objectives. I could show you a net sheet with the proceeds to be to you and your family you could take with you to Texas. And this way, whatever you decide to do, Brandy, whether you decide to stay put or you decide to move, you'll have
nobody's named Brandy in Fort Lauderdale. They're all Jim and like Beth.
No,
Beth,
I know there's
bro.
a Brandy here.
About?
That's why.
Okay.
So, whatever you decide to do, you'll have all of the information that you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best for you and your family. Notice how many U's are in there. How many I's? 0. Most people are so egotistical, like, well, don't you know who I am? I don't know if you know, but I did all of these. Guys, can you imagine if you went to the donut shop and you asked for a donut? They're like, I don't know if you're aware of this, Brandy. I am the biggest donut maker in town. I am such a big deal. You'd be like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I asked for a donut. Like, I really don't care. So we have this tendency to lead with authority. Do you know why we lead with authority? Because of insecurity. That's why. That's 100% the reason why. So instead, if you put all of your focus on the client, right? And I just gave you something that's very easy to say yes to. I could show you these couple of things. Does that sound reasonable? Does that sound fair to you? And they might, then from there may be objections. Well, I need to speak to my wife first or whatever. Okay. Well, look, I want you to speak to your wife because it's a big decision. You want to make sure you make the best decision possible. I guess I'm curious. I mean, when you had it on the market in terms of this move, I can hear in your voice that you still want to make this happen. How does she feel about it? Oh, yeah, she's still pumped. She's the reason we put it on the market. Interesting. So if she knew that there was somebody who could shed some light on the situation, show you clearly and specifically what you would need to do in order to make it happen, I have to imagine she would want to speak to them, wouldn't she? Notice it's programmed into me. No, you see what I did when I said that? She would want to speak to them, wouldn't she? And it comes out of my tonality.
For just a second, a couple of comments in the side comments, right? There's a point where I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of seller calls for creative finance deals. And people come to me and they go, dude, nobody's better on seller calls about creative finance. And I go, yeah, it didn't start that way. You get to a point where you own the information so much. Like Aaron owns this information, guys. He owns it because he's practiced this so many times. And you guys are over here saying, man, Aaron just lets this flow like butter. Guys, he's practiced this like a gangster over and over and over. Aaron, have you ever stuttered? Have you ever screwed up? Have you ever made a blunder in a point where you're like, crap, I screwed up. You go home, you make a note, and then you go back and you try it again.
Yeah. So here's what I would suggest to anybody who's saying that. The first thing is you get rewarded in public for what you spend countless hours doing in private. Countless. Somebody say they DM me. They're like, wow, man, that sounds real dope. I'm like, yeah, you know what it takes? Nauseating, disgusting amounts of practice.
Yeah.
That most people aren't willing to do. So the first calendar year selling real estate, guys, I made $13,000. I'm curious. Do you think Pace would bring me on his group to share with you guys precisely how I made below the poverty line?
No.
Nobody was there hanging out with me while I'm standing in my crops chanting, hi, I was calling about the home that's for sale by industries. This is Great. My name's Aaron, I'm a local real estate agent. Sure, figured out by now. Like nobody was there doing that. Nobody was there while I was hand writing out scripts by hand. Nobody was there when I was filming myself. You want to do something really fun? Do this. You ready? Film yourself talking to somebody. Sit down with your significant other with a bottle of wine and they'll be like, this is going to be entertaining. Okay? Because I'm probably going to verbally vomit. You're going to be like, what the hell was I doing? Like, what was I saying? That's how you get better. Then you know what I did? I got proximity to agents. I was doing 50 deals a year. I started role playing with a guy doing 200. How many, let me ask you guys a question. If you're serious about this, how many people do you role play with that you're actually intimidated to practice with them?
We have 4 hours of role playing every morning in this community with people that are like doing 200 deals a year. And it is something we force them into because I believe in that more than anything else. But still, even though we call it the daily dial. So we have 2 hours East Coast, 2 hours West Coast. Okay. And even though it's there, people are so intimidated. Here's one of our best closers, Aaron. This is a great story. His name is Munif. He comes in, joins our community, and he joins the daily dial, just one of 31 Zooms we do every single week. And he's picking up a fake phone call with somebody that he's role-playing with who's a fake seller. And the person who he's role-playing with is doing 200 deals a year, right? Munif picks up a fake phone call, his first daily dial, and hangs up the fake phone call because he's so damn scared. He then goes on, doesn't give up, keeps doing the role playing, shows up every single day, and 6 months later, he wins our entire industry's Closers Olympics. Wins the belt. Quits his job as an engineer. An engineer by trade became a great closer. So
love it.
Keep going about this because I love this topic. I love this.
Yeah, and what I'm aware of is it's volume over time. It's V over T. So like once I figure out what's the thing to stack my time on top of. So as everybody on this call is hardworking, ambitious, and smart. Would you agree with that?
I would say yes.
Yeah. So when people are hardworking, ambitious, and smart, you have to be very thoughtful about what you choose to stack your time on top of. It took me a long time to figure out focus, like a long time. And that first calendar year when I only made $13,000, I didn't know what to focus on because people were giving me the wrong information. So if I was to ask you guys this question, knowledge equals, everybody will tell me power. I don't care where I am on the planet. I don't care if I'm United States, if I'm abroad, everybody will say that. Okay, now check this out. If knowledge equals power, what happens if you have the wrong knowledge? That's problematic. So at the beginning of my career, I had the wrong knowledge. They weren't teaching me this is a sales business, like selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the phone. I didn't know where to spend time.
Is Aaron Novello.
Let's go. Thank you. I have a confession to make, guys. There was a time in my real estate career where I would sit in an empty house with cookies that I made, waiting for people to show up. I know, I'm not proud of this shit. I also used to wear my name tag and stomp around public smiling at people, hallucinating that someone would say, oh my God, this is so strange. I was actually thinking about selling my home. And I don't know anybody, my sister, my uncle, my cousin, my fucking next door neighbor. I know no agents. But because you have your name tag on, I feel like I can trust you and I'm gonna list my property with you. Yep, I see some heads nodding. You've done this shit too. And this last one, it's really tough. But again, I feel comfortable with you guys. I used to put my face on my yard signs like this, imagining that someone would say, oh my God, that's the most handsome realtor I've ever seen. I have to buy and sell with him. Yeah, done that, right? So, in all seriousness, what I'm aware of is that if we're utilizing strategies and tactics that was working between 2020 and 2021 that are reactive and passive, if you are waiting for people to show up, that is a weight loss program because you're not making any money. Anybody notice that the volumes dropped dramatically? Yeah, you can't tell because all you guys are posting like, happy-go-lucky on Instagram. It's all great. It's not fucking great, don't lie. The volumes dropped 30%. The cost of money's doubled in a year. Interest rates are 7.3%. They were 3% before. Okay? An $1,800 a month payment is now $3,600 a month. Is you posting on Instagram like this gonna change that? No. Write this down. When times get tough, only the skilled get paid. When times get tough, only the skilled get paid. We've moved from a speed environment, who can get to the lead the fastest gets the business, to now we are in a skilled-based environment. Whoever's the most skilled is going to get the business. Because I'm curious, with less listings, are you competing more? 100%. Right? With less opportunities, are you competing more? Yup. What do you think's going to do it? When I ask people, I'm like, what's your competitive advantage? They're like, I treat my clients right. And I'm like, that's fucking dumb. Everybody does that. Like, oh, I put my clients first. Everybody does that. Jack Welch said a long time ago, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Okay? So as the marketplace shifts and changes, we need the right mindset, the right skills, and the right approach. So that way you can continue to get your unfair share. Who besides me is interested in their unfair share? I'm sorry, are we in the right fucking room here? Who besides me is interested in their unfair share? Because check this out, competition's good for who? The consumer. It is not good for me. I do not want to compete, I want to dominate. Make sense? Yep. Okay. Now, how do I know that this is true? How can I speak to you from a place of conviction, the same way I know the sky is blue and the grass is green? I started selling real estate in 2006, and I was being told to sit in open houses, name tag, face on yard signs. I made $13,000 my first year. Not something people would pay you to come tell you how they did that. They wouldn't put you on a panel. They definitely wouldn't invite you on a podcast, and they certainly wouldn't pay you to teach them how you made just above the poverty line. Right? The reason was I didn't have an accurate assessment of reality. I didn't understand what this game was. But once I understood that the money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service, then it was off to the races. So let me prove my point. How many people in this room have a real estate license? Raise your hands. Okay? We can all perform the same service, correct? Yes. Do we all make the same amount of money? No. Why? Everyone is different. Nope. Some people know how to sell the service better than others. Does that make sense? Yep. The average real estate agent, if they go on 100 listings, they only take 20 of them. You know why? Because you guys are going in there, oh my God, you have a puppy, I have a puppy, we should be friends, yay. Yeah, I know what you guys do. Okay? When I'm going on listings, 85% of the time I take a listing. I'll make $800,000, average agent makes $47,000. What's the difference? I'm sorry? Money's clearly different, but what's leading to the money? Skills. Does that make sense? So how do I know that this is true? So I only made $13,000 that first calendar year. I got an accurate assessment. In 2007, up until April, I did 15 transactions. I was on track to do 60 deals, much better, right? And then I get a phone call while I'm prospecting. For you agents, that's where you make outbound calls. I don't know if you guys know that. And you guys have spidey sense where you can feel something's wrong before you know it's wrong? Yep. Okay, I had that feeling. And I did something that if you know me very well, I would never do, which is that I actually stopped prospecting and I picked up the phone. And it was my dad. And I could tell very quickly due to his breath and what was happening that my spidey sense was accurate. My mom had just had a very intense health event that required everybody's undivided attention. He was like, hey, whatever you're doing right now, you need to stop and come home. So I did. Within 1 week, gave away all the listings, all the pendings, rented out the condo that I owned, 6 blocks from University of Florida, and I moved back home and started over from scratch. Anybody besides me ever start over from scratch before? Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Is that easy? No. And then 2008 happened. Yay! How many people have been selling real estate? We're selling real estate in 2008. Oh, this is fucking great. 95% of you have no idea what that was like. You think this is a huge market disruption? Check this out. 50% of everything on the market was a short sale or foreclosure. Okay? Prices were going down 30% per year. People were having to bring money to closing to sell. The most I ever did, guy brought $100,000 to sell, just to get rid of it. Okay? Now, in that environment, after I moved back down from 2007, April, till the end of that year, did 17 deals. Next year in 2008, 50, while everything's imploding. Next year, 75. Next year, 89. Next year, 98. And the next year, 100. No short sales, no REOs, no foreclosures. One at a time. I did 100 deals one year, 75 were expired listings. Yep, you feel the energy in the room? Yep. So that's how I know emphatically what I'm saying to you is true. I didn't read this shit in a book and think it's cute. Okay? Most of you guys are used to getting talked to by people who haven't actually been highly productive. Right? So, I believe that everybody in this room, with the right mindset, the right skills, the right approach, can dominate this market and any market. Doesn't matter if it's up, sideways, down, backwards, doesn't matter. I spent the last 17 years of my career, I've sold 2,000 homes. I did 100 deals a year, 10 years in a row. I did 200 deals a year twice with 2 assistants and 2 buyer's agents, and 170 of those deals were mine, and they were all listings. Round of applause, please. Okay? So what we're going to do for the next 30, maybe 45 minutes is I'm going to go over with you and share with you what I share with coaching clients and people in my organization at EXP, Elite Builders, to teach them how to be productive in all environments, to have the right mindset, the right skills, and the right approach. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. Come on, guys. I need more energy than that. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. Okay, good. So if you want to set 1 appointment a day, because by the way, if you're having mindset issues right now, set 1 appointment a day and it'll solve it. You're having money problems right now? Set 1 appointment a day, it'll solve it. If you're considering driving Uber, set 1 appointment a day and it'll solve it. You notice that nervous laughter? Because someone's like, fuck, is he paying attention to me? Like, is he watching me? So, if we want to set 1 appointment a day, the first thing we have to do is a mindset. I prospect for appointments, not contacts. A lot of you guys are counting the amount of people that you're speaking to. I prospect specifically for appointments, not contacts. From an approach perspective, a lot of you guys lead from a place of authority, which is really lame. You're like, I don't know if you know, but I sold a home in your neighborhood, right? And I'm the queen of the falls. Did you know that? Can you imagine if you walked into the baker and they were like, hey, you're like, hey, can I get a bagel? They're like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal. Okay, I make bagels all the time. What would you say to the baker?
Give me one for free.
Or you'd be like, I don't fucking care. Like, I just want a bagel. But this is how we lead, right? Are you familiar with the techniques that I use to sell homes? No. And I don't give a shit. Who is that focused on, by the way? You. And where does it come from? Insecurity. You're trying to prove yourself worthy. And it repels people. It pushes them away. Okay? Instead, hey, you know, my job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. I guess I'm curious. You live in a lovely neighborhood. I don't have to tell you that. Great school district. Was there any particular reason you were even considering selling? And then what are they going to do? And who is that about? Yeah, and I'm wondering, because again, like I'm not here to twist your arm at all. Is it an option for you to not sell the home and still move? Like maybe rent it out? I'm wondering, if you were still here 6 months from now and the home wasn't sold, what would that do for you and your family? Like, would that be an issue? I've only spoken to you. You seem to be really excited about selling. I'm noticing there's somebody else on title. How do they feel about it? Anybody besides me ever got really excited, ran on an appointment, talked to the wife, she's pumped, sit down, the husband's like this? And you realize in 5 minutes, they're not fucking doing anything. Whose fault was that? Because I didn't ask? Questions, right? I didn't find out what the situation was because I'm too focused on who? Me. Right? Find out how you can add value. What's the situation, right? Relationships plus value over time. Whoever adds more value wins. Because I don't know if you guys notice, we all do the same fucking thing. Oh, I have buyers in Venezuela. No, you don't. Don't do that. Hey, here's a little secret. You guys ready? We all use the same photographers. We all put it in MLS, which actually sells it. How many people posted over the last year, we sold $30,000 above the asking price? Are you posting now? I had to lower it 6 times to sell it. Wait, let's get this straight. You were responsible for one but not the other? You know what the real truth is? Neither one of them had anything to do with you. It's market dynamics and conditions. It's just ego, bro. It has nothing to do with what's true. And again, you can get whatever you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Right. Focus on what's true for them. What are they trying to accomplish? Why is it important to them? Right? So, I mean, you were kind enough to share with me that the main reason you want to sell the home is you want to move to Texas. I guess I'm curious. Let's say if you actually get the home sold and you move to Texas, what is that going to do for you and your family? How would your guys' life improve in some way? And they tell you, well, this, and this. Okay. And how important is that to you at this stage in your life? Do you see? Who is that about? Now imagine I'm speaking that way and everybody else is like, are you familiar with the techniques that I use to sell? Who are they going to talk to? Is it magic, by the way? No, it's just focus and intention. Does this make sense? Say aye. Again, does this make sense? Say aye. Aye. Good. The next thing is you got to role play constantly and consistently. Okay? How can you possibly get good at something that you don't practice all the time? Is that not immature? You really think you're going to walk into somebody's house and ask them to pay you 10, 15, 20, 30,000 fucking dollars and you don't practice every day? That's immature. It's actually ridiculous. Can you imagine you walked into the physician, the surgeon, and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to wing this shit. Right? Yeah, fuck it. Like, I feel like I know what I'm doing. Would you allow them to do that? Imagine you got on a plane with a pilot and like, yeah, it's the first time I've done this. I've done it enough. I'm just going to fucking wing it. I'm not going to look at the checklist. We laugh, but this is the shit that we do. You show up unprepared, late, dressed in flip-flops and yoga pants, and you're like, yeah, pay me 20,000 bucks. What are you doing? Do you realize that there's 20,000 agents in the multiple listing service? There's only 100 of them that do over 20 million in volume a year. That's it. 100. You have 100 people competing for 20,000 jobs. If that's what's true, which it is, what would your practice schedule look like if you actually wanted one of those jobs? You tell me how much money you want to make a year. If I follow you around and look at your practice schedule, do they match? Usually not. Just make, you notice energy in the room? Boo. Look, I'd love to be able to outsource push-ups to the Philippines and I get diesel. That'd be dope. You can't do that. There's no way around it. And there's no security in this business. There's only opportunities. Do you guys get like minimum wage if you don't make any money in sales? I'm just checking because you guys act like it all the time. Right? So there's no security, there's only opportunities. But if I can get my skills to such a degree that if there's an opportunity, there's an 80 to 90% chance I'm going to capitalize on that opportunity, I've just created security for myself and my family. I never want to have to look at my wife and be like, you know what? We can't take that trip to Europe because daddy didn't know how to answer the question, what's your commission? I don't want to have to look at my son and be like, yo, we can't do the really fun shit at Disney World because they said they want to think about it and I just verbally vomited. And I walked out of there clicking my heels like, yay, we really connected. They're going to be awesome. And somebody like me comes in and closes them and then you're heartbroken. I know. I don't like it when you do that, Ewan. Don't close them. Leave some for me. Right? So I feel like it's my duty and obligation. And as a marketplace becomes more challenging, I have to skill up. If I'm hallucinating that just because I'm me, I'm going to do more when volume's down 30%, is that an accurate assessment of reality? No. No. Hey, just to, like for everybody to be clear, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody. Wouldn't it be dope if there was like a whole like group of people on horses like, I'm coming to save Eric. Nobody's coming.
Here with Leo Perea. It's awesome to meet you, man. We did a Zoom podcast, and we decided, hey, we're right down the street from each other.
We realized we're one county away.
I know, we're just neighbors, man. So it's awesome to be here with you.
That's actually one of the coolest things about our company. It's completely virtual, and when I talk to people, they're always like, I'll feel disconnected. And I actually tell people that I think the human connection that we experience because we're virtual is even better. Yeah. Right? Because it's always intentional.
Correct.
It's not like I ran into you at the copier. It's like I made a decision to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Whether it's at an event or one-on-one like we're doing right now. The virtual thing to me is saving on fixed overhead, but then the human connection part is even better in person.
Yeah, and because the way that the company is structured, our interests are in complete alignment. So what I'm doing is I'm meeting with another owner.
I actually talk about that a lot. I had never really understood multi-level marketing or direct selling. Mm-hmm. And now I get to run the third largest direct selling company in the world.
Yeah.
Right? That was news to me when I got here. And I went to a direct selling event and found out, I was like, oh, wow, it's like Amway and a couple others and us.
Yeah.
And actually the way that I normally need parallels in my brain to just put stuff in buckets.
Sure.
And for me, our revenue share model is a newer asset-light aligned version of franchising was 10, 20 years ago.
100%.
Right? I owned a franchise. I was a small member of the cap table. But what I've learned and experienced is that's actually a confrontational, friction-full experience.
Yes.
Because I owe them fees, and they sell me stuff. They make me go to stuff. They make me sign up for stuff, and they get paid off the top.
Yep.
And then I'm left over to make ends meet, and it's always like a give and pull.
Well, and what you're describing is the principal and agent problem. So if somebody went to business school or whatever, an MBA, what they teach you is that principals and agents are at odds with each other. So principals in a company, they want something. They want to keep as much money as possible. The agents or the employees want the opposite. They want to keep as much possible. And what they say is whoever solves for that principal and agent problem the best wins. And when I was looking at these models, because I used to own part of a franchise, I sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. I felt the exact same thing that you did, that there was friction. And it was very clear that even though it was a little better, it was still hierarchical. One person got the lion's share of everything, everybody else gets crumbs. And what I realized in studying this model is that this solves for the principal and agent problem the best. It's not perfect, but it's the best. Where now my interests are direct in alignment with the company. I get to become an owner through equity. You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. I get to share in the revenue that the company produces. And what's wild is I know this is to be true, and this has nothing to do with you. I did a leadership retreat this year where we took leaders in our organization to the Dominican Republic. You had no idea I did that.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. This becomes, in hierarchical models, what you end up with is weak leadership. Because if you want an A+ opportunity, or A+ talent, you need an A+ opportunity. So because it's hierarchical, what ends up happening, and me and you are an example of that, when A+ talent rises to the top and there's no more opportunity, what do?
They leave.
They leave. What this model does is it becomes a super highway for leaders, where it basically is saying, hey, here's a platform. You can do whatever you want with it. You could build as big of an empire as you would like. We are just the platform, the operating system underneath.
Well, I'm sure you've heard me say it. That's actually how I describe the company,
yeah.
Right? We are an operating platform that allows real estate entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a well-known data nerd.
Yeah.
And so when I first got here, my obsession was just understanding who we are and what our population is. Right. So some fun facts that you can share is 29% of our agents have one or more people in their downline.
Wow.
Which was higher than I expected it. But then I clicked a second number down, and I was really curious about 3 or more. Because to me, 1 could be an accident. 1 to 2 is an accident. 3, it feels like you're trying.
Yeah.
And when you go down to 3, it's only 14%. And so, again, that's not good or bad. That's just is, right? So one thing it told me is 86% of the people here just to sell homes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I've never forgotten that we're a real estate brokerage.
First.
So my obsession in the 2 years I've been here is operational excellence. How do I pay you faster?
Yeah.
How do I answer your broker support questions faster? How do I close the loop on any issues, right? And to me, it's let me start with the super important, not sexy, and make that experience amazing. Because unlike other opportunities for folks like you actually are completely relying on the lion's share of the experience on us.
Correct.
Right? You could be the best attractor in the world and create the biggest opportunity. But if onboarding sucks, or broker support sucks, or it takes 2 weeks to pay somebody, who's staying?
Yeah, so what I think is huge about what you just said is I am very clear, EXP is my operational partner, right? So you guys operate. My job is to bring people to the opportunity and then to add tremendous value, right? Your job and the team's job at EXP is to make the operation excellent. And together, because we're all owners, we're all building something together.
The other thought that you just reminded me of when you were saying about your leadership retreat, I asked Glenn a ton of questions when I got here, and just I always like to understand the legacy, because there are things that are put in place for a good reason, especially when you have smart people, right? If I see a system or a rule where I'm hey, before I go touch anything, let me ask a bunch of questions. But one day I was asking him the differences in models where in other systems there's a leader, and the people who help attract just kind of bring him to the doorstep, if you will, and let the other people do the work.
Yeah.
And he's this is the distinction. that person takes them all the way to the finish line.
Right.
Right. And the way he explained EXP in his original vision, and what definitely came out of it, is we're an experiment in distributed leadership.
And explain to me what you mean by that, because I think I'm clear, but
Yeah,
explain.
no. So in most systems, like if in tradition, I know any real estate company, any food company that has franchises, right? Like there's typically a master regional owner,
Yep.
country owner, right? You sell Europe, Asia, Latin America, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast. And so there's this person who kind of drops in and evangelizes, and then that person then sells the franchises. And so they get to participate in the total upside. And then there are folks who become super kind of franchise owners, regional owners, of like 5 or 6 or 7 stores. And again, this could literally be McDonald's, real estate companies, to, you know, and fill in the blank, any franchise shop, Subways. And then some people end up with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And so the revenue opportunity could be, you know, enough to provide for one person's lifestyle.
Sure.
To a multi tens of millions of dollars operation with staff.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking about Burger King to real estate offices. So what I see that was created here is someone can kind of tiptoe in and say, hey, is this for me? And do a little bit of it and add 20 grand a year to it, like where your cap's covered and you're basically a 100% company, to, you know, 6 and 7 figures a month in revenue.
Correct.
And at that point, you're basically a multi-regional owner.
Yes.
Right?
Without
Or
any
multi-office owner.
without any expenses, major expenses, leases.
I was going to say,
yeah.
the big difference is without a 10 or 12 year franchise agreement,
Yes.
without a 10-year lease on 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
Right? Because what I always want to be clear about is the folks who do really well then treat it like a business, right? That's why the platform statement, like those are very specific, like 9 words that I've crafted together, because I want to be a platform, and I'm hyper aware that like 68, 70% of our agents are solo producers and will sell 5 to 12 homes a year.
Great.
And I want to be the very best platform for them to do that.
Yep.
Then we have other folks on the extreme side of the production fence. Like our number 1 team this year is probably going to do 1,200 units with 65 people, right? And we'll probably have 1 in the US and 1 in Canada that
Do
1,200. Like Justin Haver and Matt Delhoon. Kenny Fast team and Kyle Whistle will be right behind them. In the US, you will see who Parker Pemberton's coming up right behind them. But Jennifer Jones and everybody else will give Justin equal run for their money in Canada.
Sure.
So we have folks that are running $10 to $20 million GCI businesses. Like that's bigger than most brokerages ever get to.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And so we need to be able to support people closing 80, 100, 150 transactions a month, right?
Yeah.
There's entire franchises in real estate that don't do that. And we just have them. We have multiple teams in certain cities that have that kind of production.
Yeah.
So our platform has to be scalable and have to have the support and inputs to support those level of businesses.
That's super interesting. So this conversation is helpful because it's helping me to have some clarity, which is one, the platform, to your point, needs to be operational excellence for the agents doing lots of units all across the spectrum, whether it's 2 to 5, 10, or thousands. What it also is doing is an experiment in distributed leadership. So the people who focus on the opportunity of, let's say, attraction, they realize this is a regional opportunity without franchise agreements, without, you know.
It's a global opportunity.
It's a
right? 'Cause
global opportunity, yeah.
We have very successful attractors who are just dominant in their physical geography.
Yeah.
And then we've had folks who cross all kinds of lines.
Right. So like right now, I've been with the company 26 months. We're in 15 states. So I was on a call with someone who was trying to present me with what he thought was a good opportunity. He's like, yeah, you'd have to sign this 10-year thing. I'm like, you realize I have the same opportunity. I have to sign anything. And I could do it anywhere, not just this little region in California. So the company is really doing 2 things. One is that operational excellence for the agents and units and volume and all that. And then operational excellence with distributed leadership, which are the agents that see the opportunity in terms of attraction. It lines within their skill sets and they go aggressively after it. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's where the platform statement stands, right? Like you can be a solo producer, you could be a small team, you could be a mega team.
Yeah.
You could attract I was on a call 2 days ago with an agent who's a solo producer, $45 million, solid producer, right? And he had me on an attraction call with a very big team. And I asked him, I said, what do you make a month? And he said, 10 grand, but I spend 5 hours a week on it, right? So it's not his focus. He considers production his focus.
Yeah.
And again, 5 hours may sound low, but that's still 1 hour a day, right? It's still a pillar. But when you think of that person's iconing, so they were at 100%, pretty much, and then they're pulling in an extra $120,000. That's a pretty cool opportunity.
Well, and what they're doing, so I've been saying this for 4 or 5 years, because if you look at the macro, I think the macro is an example of the micro. So the macro is brokerage. The problem that they're having is that they're having to deal with the following. The net company retained dollar to brokerages has gone down 50% over the last 50 years. So it used to be if a brokerage took in $1, they kept 50 cents. Now it's like 10 cents. That's a huge problem. They're also dealing with a massive decline in revenue when you go from 6 million to 4 million transactions. Plus with the NAR thing, I think with a high degree of probability that there may be some compression in terms of professional fees.
If I were betting, I bet it goes down, not up.
Right, me too. On the buy side. So all of that, what I share with people is, look, cash is oxygen to a business. After the rah-rah and the marketing, Warren Buffett says in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. I think. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. Who's actually making money? So if I look at the macro, it's happening on the micro level too, right? It's the same issue. Now, the way that the macro dealt with it was to become vertically integrated on ancillary services, right? Well, what this platform does, and what I share with agents all the time, it allows me to be vertically integrated, where I get equity in the company that I'm helping to build, right? An S&P 600 company. I also get this other opportunity, which stands next to me, which makes up for any compression in commissions. And that's really what you're saying, right?
And also understanding that like our core business model is profitable and sustainable.
Yeah.
And so we don't actually need to monetize the agents and turn them into a product. Like I keep you on the partner side. And I actually said that to people, I'm like, listen, if an opportunity isn't profitable, meaning like at the unit economic standpoint, they lose money every time they close a transaction.
Yeah.
At some point they will monetize you.
They have to.
Right? Whether it's their ancillary or the model shifts.
Which I'm already seeing, where I was on a call with a brokerage in Chicago, and here's what they said, Leo. If you don't do 10 million in volume, your split's higher. If you don't use our ancillary services, your split's higher. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Which, again, I'm in the business of partnering with the very biggest producers.
Yeah.
Again, like I know the avatars across our spectrum, but like I'm quite proud that our top 250 teams sold north of 69,000 homes. As a standalone independent company, those top 250 teams would have been the 6th largest independent by transaction count in the United States. Right? And the companies in that ranking are 18, 20,000.
Which I think is great, because one of the things I hear from people is like, oh, you guys just care about like attraction. It's like, nah, dude, we do the most units.
Period. And our per person productivity is on the high side compared to like other national companies. And so what I realized early on when I got here is I'm never going to disproportionately collect ancillary services, because when you're doing business with companies that have 10, 15, $16 million in gross commission income, those are fully integrated companies.
Yeah.
They own their ancillaries.
Yes.
And I need to make sure that my platform allows them to plug and play and support that, right?
Yes.
We want to be able to give you all the legal advice and make sure the ABAs are compliant and that you're staying on the right side of RESPA and all the stuff. But like, if I had to figure out how to make us valuable by monetizing you, I would have a hard time attracting the most productive people.
Because it goes back to that principal and agent problem. It would create friction. And it would basically create the problem that the legacy kind of models have. And then as a result, because we wouldn't be able to attract the best talent, everything rises and falls on leadership. Without the leadership, like, it doesn't matter. And what I've realized, and I'm curious to see your perspective, because I know you've done lots of things in all different areas, whether it be selling tons of units, be the #1 real estate agent of KW, whether it be a lending business or software exits, and now the CEO of EXP. I think what protectionism leads to is mediocrity. Because then people get lazy.
Guys, use these platforms. Don't use them to consume, or just sit back and watch other people do it. You're on camera right now.
They only see me on screen.
I felt like I was around all
Got stuck in that traffic too? It's like a tree. I'm like that. Who's counting? Next time, bring a videographer.
What? I brought
No,
my camera.
bring a videographer.
Yeah.
If you want to go all in on media, it's required. You could go from like however many sales you're doing to probably like double, triple.
People just don't know about it.
They don't. The thing that's critical in media is not to position yourself as the hero, but instead to position yourself as a guide. If you think about stories, right? There's different characters in a story. The weakest person in the story is the villain. The second weakest person is the hero. So if I'm posting content, look at me, here's what I'm doing, here's a home I sold, here's a closing we had, I'm the hero. Instead, I should be thinking, how can I be perceived as a guide to help people to solve their problems? And the book that you need to read is Story Brand by Donald Miller. That needs to inform all of your media. Once you understand story branding, you realize how embarrassingly your media is just for you. Not for anybody else. Like, here's me and my kids. Here's me on vacation. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's watching that. Just so you know, nobody. Like your mom might be like, that's it.
Transferring that to post-con and things like, instead of just saying just sold.
You should say, here's the problem that they had. Here's the plan that we used. Here's them with the outcome. If you want more information, I'm going to call you to action. I want you to do something. Call me. So what'll happen now is people start to watch, like you were saying, you started watching content. But notice in my content, do I ever make myself the hero? No, I've sold 2,000 homes. I've attracted 350 people, but I never talk about it. So let's say you consume all this content. And then let's say I come out with a course on media. Would you see me as a guide to help you to solve your problem? And then you would give me money. Haha. Yes? Do you understand? That's how you do it. It's just understanding, like, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed woman's queen. If you could see some stuff that other people can't, it's incredibly advantageous. So everybody out here is blindly walking around making it about themselves. They're doing it completely wrong. And then they wonder why. Why is your channel blowing up? Because I'm a guide. I'm not some jester. Like you, instead of like, I think Kim Kardashian did people a huge disservice. You know what she pushed into the world? Look at me. You know what you guys need to be focused on? Listen to me, not look at me. Yeah, no, listen to what I'm saying. You know, I have coaching clients where I'll hop on, and I mean this lovingly, they're females, and I'll look at their content. I'm like, I can't tell what you're selling. Looks like you're selling something else. That's a different form of prospecting, team. Yes? They're doing it wrong, right? And I get it, like it's a form of power and you want to show that, but that doesn't position you as a guide to help anybody to solve their problems. It doesn't. Does that make sense?
And once Aaron told me about this, about the guide.
So he's the guy who watched 1,000 hours worth of content, clear across the country, called me on the phone and said, hey, never met him, and was like, yo, I want to partner with you.
100%. And he had a full like listing presentation that
on YouTube,
and like the link to the whole PDF or whatever was on there. And I followed it 100%. I watched his presentation like 100 times. Crazy.
Took listings.
And the first one was like a $1.3 million listing.
So to that point, the best way to show somebody you can help them is by for free. Because then you know what you start to think, bro, if he helps me for free, how much would he help me if I paid him? Or how much would he help me if I got close to him? Yes? In doing so, you're positioning yourself as a guide to help them to solve their problem.
Okay.
And then they'll reach out to you.
Before you guys finish up, should it be two different handles?
Yeah, so I think it's two channels because it's two separate avatars.
Yeah.
So like I do all of my stuff on one channel because my avatar is only agents.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a coaching program that we sell coaching and high ticket items, but then we do attraction. So we've brought 356 agents in 2.5 years, but it's because I position myself as a guide to help them to solve their problem. What is agents' problem? They want to do more deals. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. Now, I do believe that there's a very interesting blend. So I was just at the Pace actually invited me to this thing called the Clever Investor, Cody Sperber. I don't know if you know this. What was interesting is a lot of the wholesalers or people that do you, they would come up to me and they'd be like, yeah, we do like 20 deals a month. I'm like, great. How many offers you making? 300.
Yeah.
What are you doing with all the listings? Nothing. Then all the agents come up to me and I'm like, how many deals are you doing? They're like this. I'm like, great. And I'm like, all right, what do you do when somebody wants something creative? Nothing. So the blend is both. So if you can position yourself as a guide to help agents solve that problem, you'll also build your downline, which will become the actual frictionless thing that makes the most money with the least amount of noise. because it's a reoccurring stream of revenue where like the flipping and the whole whatever, it's just a mechanism to raise cash. But the purpose is to get to monthly reoccurring revenue in like multifamily or something like that. Because that's what creates time freedom and location freedom. Otherwise, I always have to be there. It's just another hustle.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think I'm like again, that perfectionist thing is more of a video. And
It's not. So I really want you to think about what I said.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the fear of failure in disguise. That's what it is. And it's not a video thing. It's not that. And it's putting too much emphasis on what people think.
Okay.
So in essence, what it is, lovingly,
No, you're good.
I'm idolizing people's opinions.
Yeah.
I'm putting them on a pedestal. Where if you notice, and again, I mean this lovingly, did it seem like, thank you, you're awesome.
Good job.
Hey, did it seem like I cared at all what anybody thought? No. When I was up there, does it seem like I'm worried about how people are perceiving me? Not at all. And as a result, though, what I said is true. There are people in that room that didn't like me. I'm fine with it. But my tribe gets attracted to me. Yes? So you need to understand that, like, I know I'm aware, like, we grew up in environments where you're not supposed to stick out. You're not supposed to raise your voice. You're not supposed to say anything that people don't like. But in that platform, I have to be myself. And being yourself, you will cause people not to like you.
That's a lot. That's very true for me because I came from the corporate world.
Right.
And so I always had to be very
Prim and proper.
Yes.
Always look a certain way, always behave a certain way.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And what happens is I get a lot of static for it. They're waiting for me for a picture.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey, yes, take care. And like I shared with you, is prior to coming to these, I know it's like fun. And people's ratio, I'm not suggesting it's true for you, but just in general, their ratio of fun to learning is usually like 80% fun, 20% learning. So
I did not come to do that.
having a ratio of like, hey, what do I really want to learn about?
Who do I want to meet?
Who do I want to meet? Who do I want to get proximity to? Like that guy I was just talking to, his name's Brandon. He came to the company. He has 22 companies. Yeah, but he deserves to wear the color shoes. So red. Well, I mean, your boy's got him on too. He has 22 companies. He has a lending company that does $60 million a year in revenue. So there's like people walking around that are that, you know what I mean? And it's just like figuring out what do you want to know about, what do you want to learn about?
We're gonna think that through here in life.
Yeah, and we're gonna what's his name? There's a guy here who's getting ready to partner with us. He does 75 million in volume, 5,000 sales. He didn't come.
No.
It was interesting is that I texted him and he didn't respond. Like the day before, I was like, all right. And then he told me the day of, like the day, because he was supposed to come to our probate event. We did a lunch and learn. Yeah. I mean, I think that when people, particularly agents that are in high volume, there's a lot of it for them to unwind. There's like transactions and all this stuff. So it's like a little cumbersome, but I have no reason to imagine that he's not. So we'll see. Sometimes yeah. Exactly. You said no for 7 years, man. You know what I tell people when I'm teaching this? I'm like, okay, how many people have a significant other? They all raise their hand. I'm like, did you say yes the first time they asked? Usually the answer is no.
Yeah.
Had to be like multiple attempts, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Rockstar? Hey, how is your... Come here. How's your husband doing? I believe that the future of real estate is what you're doing, which is where an agent will be able to provide multiple options and choices. And whatever option you choose, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree.
So if someone's...
We've been doing it.
Yeah, no. And your point is because I went to the Clever Summit. Do you know Cody? Yeah.
I know Cody very well.
So Pace invited me there.
Yeah.
Morby.
Yeah, no, Pace very well too.
Yeah. And I would have people come up to me and the wholesalers, I would say, how many deals you're doing? They're like 20. I'm like, great. How many offers you making? 300.
Yep.
How many listings are in there? Probably 10. What are you doing with them? Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Then all of the agents, which are like, hey, what do you do if somebody says they want a cash offer or something creative? Nothing.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
They're both leaving them on the table.
Yeah, I know.
So what I'm aware of, I told Pace, because I was on his wholesale, whatever hotline. Yeah. And he was like, hey, why do you think our communities don't hang out with each other?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, a couple reasons. He's like, why? I'm like, well, one, you guys kind of talk shit a little bit
Yeah.
because it's like all agents,
Well,
right?
there's a lot of bad holes. There's a lot of people that do it. They give it a bad name. They don't do shit the right way.
Well, that, and I think we both have the same avatar,
Yeah.
which is a motivated seller,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
think that they can learn from us on what to say and how to say it, salesmanship, and we can learn from them about
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah, but you know the one thing with Pace that I've said a few times, Pace is brilliant. I'm like, dude, no one can. There's very few people that can architect a deal like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
Because of his intelligence, his
Yeah,
ability, capacity to do it.
it's like he's like, no, everybody can do creative finance, and I'm like, no, they can't.
No,
They can't.
because most people,
Because people can't see the roadmap the same way that you can.
yeah. So the challenge is like he's a visionary, and not everybody is.
And by the way, he's a special human.
I know he's
I
been
mean, he's
incredibly kind to me.
Not just that. Like he's like if he was here,
A go-giver,
and
bro.
there was a line of 700 people,
He would stay the whole time.
He would stay and speak to every.
I know.
I've watched him.
I've watched him do it too.
Till 2:00 in the morning.
I know.
Like he'll do it till 2:00.
In terms of like community, it's wild. And I'm aware that Pace built his whole community with media. Pineda the same. When I was on Pineda's podcast,
Well, Pace was YouTube.
right?
Yeah.
And you know what I said at the meeting, which nobody like. People are like, "Whoa, 10% of all TV time now is YouTube.
No, I caught that.
7.8% is Netflix.
Yeah.
YouTube's more than Netflix.
Yeah.
So if that's what's true, like I think to your point, it's a lack of understanding that attention's more valuable than money. So what would you rather have, $100,000 or 100,000 subs on YouTube?
Yeah.
100,000 subs on YouTube all day long.
Yeah, because they're gonna make it.
So this is cool to actually meet in person.
I think so.
Yeah. So we met initially in the digital world, yes?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
The content was helpful to you. Exactly how was it helpful to you?
Yeah. So I was working to scale my business and I wanted to get better at my listing presentation. I'd been on a bunch before that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take it to the next level. And I think that I got a recommendation or I searched listing presentation practice or whatever it was.
Sure.
And then I saw Aaron's videos.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, and the videos gave you kind of tactical information that you actually used, deployed, and got good results, yes?
Yeah, so I had a $1.3 million listing presentation coming up.
That's awesome.
And I watched Aaron's video quite a few times on the listing presentation itself. And it wasn't just mindset, you need to go in there and have positive affirmations. It wasn't that. It was specifically, tactically, this is what you say in this order. This is how you do so many assumptive closes.
Yes.
Because you need to close 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, to get
someone to actually say yes.
Sure.
And I did exactly what Aaron said. And I got the listing that night. They signed and everything like that.
That's amazing.
$32,000 check.
Love that.
So that was quite good. And that was specific tactical advice that I got directly from the videos that I watched.
And for free.
For free.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
Free.
So, and then from that, you decided to actually reach out and have a conversation.
Yeah. So I reached out and we spoke, I think, maybe less than a month after that appointment. I'm like, hey, I'm super pumped. You got great stuff. I watched everything that you're doing. And we actually ended up partnering.
Which is awesome.
After that.
Yeah, which is so cool. And then what I think is so awesome is that you're utilizing that same strategy, not only in your business, but also with a product that you created for agents. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do I use exactly what I'm learning through Elite Builders and through Aaron's information that he is just passing out to everybody that joins and partners with us.
Yeah.
But I'm using those same things to help my business and then help other real estate agents in their business grow and scale.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's terrific. Well, I'm super pumped to be partnered with you.
Yeah.
It's awesome to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And look forward to building this together. Man.
Yeah. And even better yet, since I've joined Elite Builders, I've gotten probably 4 or 5 referrals.
Have you really?
From people in Elite Builders.
Oh, that's so awesome, dude.
And it's almost to my advantage. So even if you're not in the South Florida area or where other major Elite Builders,
because we're as clear across the country as we could possibly
exactly.
be. Yes?
I'm in Arizona and Oregon.
Yeah.
And Aaron's out here in South Florida.
Yeah.
So it almost works to your advantage. So if you're in a market that is completely away from where the major Elite Builders are at, I would implore you just to check things out, look into Aaron a little bit. And so not only have I increased my business just by learning what
how much would you say you increased your business by?
Double.
Wow.
Yeah, more than double.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I was doing good business before.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
But it's been really, really helpful. And so not only have I gotten great information, but I've gotten proximity
Sure.
to really smart, good people.
Yeah.
And I've gotten referrals just from joining this group.
Yeah. So even with referrals, separate from equity and separate from the rev share opportunity, it's profitable for you. You're like 100% essentially.
Oh, totally. I'm like really making out great.
That's awesome,
so,
man.
Yeah, if somebody's worried about just production, like just getting deals and everything, a great way is just having a great network, because your network is your net worth.
Sure.
That's what I've heard.
What's more true? Hey, I've attracted 356 people to the company and I haven't picked up the phone once. And he was like, I don't agree with that. I think you should pick up the phone. And I'm like, I get it. What you're saying is true, but there's some context. When I tell people that I did 100 deals and 75 were expireds, they're like, oh my God, because they're thinking about doing that today's world. It's impossible to do in today's world.